You're watching Leafs Morning Take with host Nick Alberga and former NHLer Jay Rosehill. The show starts now.
All right, save the date. Friday, January 23rd, Mitch Marner's Vegas Knights invade the Scotiabank Arena. It's Nick Alberga, Jay Rosehill, and the latest summer edition of Leafs Morning Take presented by Bet365. How we doing, Rosie?
I'm actually a little under the weather after a little birthday wings and beer festivities last night. So the draft beer got me. It was tasting delicious. And it's a little bit of a rainy day here. And I'm wondering if we're ever going to stop talking about Mitch Marner.
Unlikely, but along those lines, I played softball last night. I'm in a co-ed league, and it was hilarious because I played a bunch of meatheads wearing college T-shirts. I guess they all played college puck. Like, it just has to be hockey players that show up to a co-ed softball league with no women on their team.
Really?
Oh, dude. And they were just, hockey players, just such good athletes. Like, they spanked us. I think they still beat us. And with these rules, like, every third batter is like a girl or should be a fourth batter, so it's an automatic out. So they played like carrying an extra out every like three hitters and still beat us. But such good athletes. And it's such a meathead play. Like, the one guy's like, I don't know, like, we played in this league last year and like nobody carried over that rule. I'm like, dude, it is a co-ed softball. Like, how did you end up in this league is my question.
Oh, that's kind of annoying. I drive by the Diamonds once in a while when on a nice day, and I don't know, it's usually 20 somethings. There's some all ages actually are playing softball, and it never really had a chance to do that. My brother did it a bit, but it looks like a lot of fun. And oftentimes it's co-ed, which makes it fun too. Get the guys and girls together, have some domestic disputes out there. And it looks like those guys were not interested. That's pretty bush league to be like, yeah, we're just all dudes here playing in a co-ed, like just hitting dingers right at girls and stuff. It's kind of a bad move, if you ask me. So I get your.
You know what? They were good dudes, so I got nothing but pleasant things to say about them. No chirping, went about their business, understood the rules, took the rules in. But I just thought it was hilarious that it had to be hockey players. I just couldn't understand the transcribed rules in the league the last couple of years and show up without women. And I've never showed up with women on their team, so they're playing with the same rules that they did last night, but they still beat us, and they're such hockey players. They're like, see ya in the playoffs. That was the handshake after the game. I'm like, am I living in a fantasy world? Did I deviate from the podcasts I do on daily basis, still playing hockey players? But fun nonetheless. It was just really, really hot. I like the humidity. I like the heat. Remember a couple weeks back, it was like very, very seasonally cold. A much different story in these parts. Our Super Chat charity partner this season is Sick Kids. Want to make sure that your question or comment gets on the show, hit us up with a Super Chat. Proceeds from our Super Chat will go to Sick Kids, ranked the #1 research-intensive children's hospital in Canada and third in the world. Let me paint a picture for you, Rosie. So I'm strolling social media last night, and all these various entities have a video or numerous videos of Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl playing beer league hockey in Newmarket, Ontario. I still wonder if this was just a casual skate with pro players or a beer league game, but there was a crowd, and somehow, some way, the McDavid Draisaitl team actually lost 6-2 in this game.
I know, I saw that, and I watched a couple different little clips, and the only ones available really are them like skating on and off the ice, and then that little clip there.
I know.
Like, and then it was like neither of them scored any goals or did anything. I don't know why the hell they would go out there and risk a flagrant stick in the eye, or I don't know. It's kind of weird why they would end up there, the two biggest superstars in the world. And is Leonidas, does he live in TO all summer too? I
believe his fiance, soon to be wife, is from the area.
Well, pretty soon Connor won't have to pack his shit. He can just leave it all summer. Just walk right over the rink.
That's exactly it.
That's interesting. I don't know why the hell they do that. That's out of the blue, random. I would like to know how that came about, because it seems out of character for them.
Could they not find any ice? And my other question, like, if you're somebody on the other team, I get they won, but I would be a little pissed off, truthfully. Like, it's not just, they're just national leaguers. It's the top two players in the world on the other team. I'm the type, I would just see you later. See you next week, guys. I'm just a defeatist by nature.
Like, you think just on principle, just for the wow factor, Connor would just turn the jets on and just blow the friggin' doors off of everyone just to show everyone what he could do. Just everyone would love that. Like, wow, did you see him turn the jets on there? But again, weird thing for them to do. I don't really know why they did that. They could snap their fingers and have any amount of ice they wanted to themselves in the GTA, but whatever, they went for a twirl. So I guess we'll look for more info on that, or just forget about it altogether.
Believe it or not, it happens more often than you would think. My brother played or still plays in a pretty decent level, league at Ice Sports in Oakville. And I remember going out maybe like 10 years ago just to watch. And on occasion, there would be like at least a fringe NHLer, maybe an AHLer, a Coast Leaguer out there dancing. And the Coast Leaguers always gave it their all. They didn't know when their last game was going to come. Remember, there was this one guy who was a fighter in the Coast League, and he was the biggest meathead ever, had a mustache. But in that league, he's like really good. So he had good hands. But anytime somebody tried to spark something, he was right there to answer the bell.
Yeah, I remember it being kind of weird playing. I played beer league for, I don't know, a year or two after I retired. And it was like, on one hand, you want to, like, you expect yourself to be at the level that you expect to be, which is when you were in your prime, playing every single day, working on your craft. Everything you do is dedicated to that. You don't feel anywhere near that good. The puck is heavier. Your legs are burning. Your lungs go to hell right away. So you're dealing with that. And then it's like, we're just out here for a skate. Like, I'm not going to be a hero. We're out here just try to sauce it around, make a play, maybe finish one, whatever. But then some guy comes and like lifts your stick or strips you or something. You get a little pissed off. So then you go like hardo on it and like use your body and like, and then you look like a dickhead because it's like, who's this guy that thinks he's still playing pro? And there's just no win. And I left the rink feeling completely frustrated every single time. And then finally I'm like, why am I doing this? I don't look forward to it at all. It's a 9:30 ice time in Torrington, Alberta on Sunday. I don't want anything to do with it. So why am I doing it? And I just said, I'm not doing this anymore, boys. And that was it for the old beer league career.
You know what? I did the same thing after I wrapped up the baseball career on 21, 22, where I had to step away for a couple of years, but you find the love again, I think, at some point. And obviously it's not comparable. You played at the highest level. I played like rep, a bit of elite. But I think because you've done it so often, you sort of lose that passion for it. And I think at some point in time, when your boys get involved, like my buddies started playing, I think it became more amicable to go out there and just have fun and realize that like you gotta like leave the past in the past and just focus on the game. But I could understand it from that perspective. Like the one thing I do see, a lot of buddies who used to play like pro and played goalie no longer played goalie after they were finished. Like they just called it. But I get your perspective on it.
My favorite thing still is going on to like a legit ODR, but like on a lake, like real black ice, and hearing that crunch of the skates and just throwing a big old sauce all the way across for someone to skate onto it, and having a new sheet that just got shoveled and then if a guy's out there flooding it, we got 3-4 good ponds like that in my town that you can go on any point in time and cruise. And then there's a few ODRs with boards and stuff too. And that I still get a kick out of that, especially on like a real pond is kind of my favorite. But yeah, the beer league thing's in the past for me.
I'll always say I had a chance to snap it around with you on the pond, right? In Alberta a couple of years ago. That was a lot of fun. It was like a Make-A-Wish. It almost felt like a Make-A-Wish type thing to play with Jay Rosehill.
Pinder going so hard from Barn Burner.
Oh my God.
About embarrassing. If it had kept going, if we played them again, my pissed off meter might have gone off a little bit and I would have buried him in some way, shape, or form. But that was outrageous how hard he was going.
I still remember when you demoed that guy into the snowbank, not Pinder, but some random dude. And it was just you playing hockey. Like you weren't even going heavy. You were just a big like freight train out there. I remember that vividly.
Yeah. Well, look for that this year. I think we're gonna do it again. They got Jasper all cleaned up after the fires, and hopefully I can make another one if they fly you out. Well, I'd be your teammate again, Nicky. I think I'd bite the bullet on that. I think you got a lot to give. Your attitude's
I'm a glue guy. I'm a locker room guy, and we got Zach Phillips now, who I've played beer league with. He is really, really good. You guys would mesh really, really well. And support of Sick Kids, Maxentius Decimus. Thank you so much for the super chat. I'm getting the hockey withdrawal shakes help. 2 cookies. Those are not cookies. They're like crazy faces. They look like cookies on the screen. But I told you this last week. I feel the same way. Only so much baseball I can watch. Only so much reality TV I can watch. Only so much shitty ass movies I can watch on Netflix. Like, I want hockey back, dude. We're 83 days away from puck drop here.
Is that what it is, eh?
Yes.
Now we got some camp and some pre-games. Can I suggest golf, the Open Championship, the oldest championship playing right now in Northern Ireland? Lots of storylines there and a very cool historic golf course. So you can check that out if you want to get some sporting blood going through your veins. But yeah, I know it's the dog days of the hockey season, man. I can't stand watching like highlights and it's just baseball after baseball on game like 80 of 162. And you're just like, good God.
You'll have your picks coming up in our last call, brought to you by Bet365. Lem writes in, listening from Jasper. Keep it up, guys. What's going on, Lem? We'll see you in January. How about that? I got another fun guest in today's podcast. We got Chris Cuthbert, of course, the lead voice for Sportsnet, CBC, Hockey Night in Canada, dropping by. I had to get somebody who's going to be around the situation when we see some of these returns. We know the schedule, Marner's return. So I thought, who better than Chris Cuthbert, who has been around for a while, has called some pretty crazy and hostile games, to get his perspective on those games moving forward.
Yeah, there's a guy who has been entrenched in just about every Leafs game there has been for a long time. So he knows all the storylines. He knows all the results. He knows the team fairly intimately. So it'll be fun to just pick his brain on this rainy summer afternoon while hockey is still down the road a fair ways. So looking forward to chatting with him, seeing what he's up to.
Got an invitation here via the chat to play hockey at Chesswood Arena Rink 3 on Sunday morning, 7 a.m., Rosie. You specifically, that's going to be difficult because you don't live in this province, but I believe you're actually going to be in Ontario this weekend, no?
No, it was supposed to until I...
Oh, it's not happening? Oh.
It's on hiatus. We're looking late, early September to do that. But yeah, we were going to go up to... Taboo Golf Club in the Muskokas and film some fun content and do a little something on the course with some cameras and some folks and some players, and that got put on hold when I decided to tear my pec off itself. And yeah, unfortunately my weekend has blown up. My entire summer has blown up here, so thanks for reminding me.
My bad. Didn't know that. Wishing you a speedy recovery in that process, coming back from the torn pec and muscle. If you love the Jays or just can't get enough of big league ball, check out the 6 Inning Stretch, the brand new podcast from the Nation Network, hosted by Lindsey Dunn and 3-time MLB All-Star Whit Merrifield. It's your weekly dose of insider stories, unfiltered takes, and exclusive interviews, and all the biggest headlines from around the majors. New episodes drop every Wednesday, so like, follow, and subscribe to the 6 Inning Stretch wherever you get your podcasts, or watch full episodes on the Blue Jays Nation YouTube channel. At the Leafs Nation 401 on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Leafs Morning Take, wherever you find your podcast. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review. And don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com. So, Rosie, the NHL had one job, one marketing job. You got the biggest game of the season outside of Brad Marchand's return to Boston. And what do? They bury Mitch Marner's return to Toronto on a Friday night in late January. The Leafs have like 2 Friday night games a year, never mind on home ice. It's on the second half of a back-to-back for the Vegas Golden Knights, which means no morning skate. They just dropped the ball, simply put. Like, I think this, I know I'm getting flack on social media. People are like, nobody gives a fuck about Toronto. I don't give a fuck about you. This is a big game for this market. I think it's so easy to frame from the NHL perspective, and they blew it.
Yeah, I said the same thing on Twitter, and people are like, the world doesn't revolve around the Maple Leafs. I'm like, well, sometimes the league does, bud. And here's an opportunity where I thought they maybe would make that happen. But yeah, they didn't. They buried it deep down in the new year, which, yeah, I guess you could say drop the ball. On the other hand, to try to think of the logistics of putting together a schedule when you're talking about teams, stadiums, concerts, basketball teams, trying to mesh schedules, and the logistical nightmare that would be. Like, I don't like to organize that kind of stuff, and I would be the last guy that would want to put together a schedule and a calendar like that. The fact they get it the way they do is pretty impressive. There's always the odd, you got to go against the grain and fly over here after being here. And you're like, well, this doesn't make sense. And guys bitch no matter what. But I don't think it's easy to put that together. That might have something to do with it. But you'd think that the NHL would be like, hey, here's a big eyeballs thing when you come down to it, as far as the storyline. Maybe get this on a nice little Saturday, maybe earlier in the year when it's fresh in people's minds. But yeah, they kind of did drop the ball there if you're into that sort of thing.
Look, I mean, there's only a pair of games every year, or a few games at the very least, where it's like, okay, let's make something of this. We talked about this, yesterday or the other day, about the NFL starting things off, and Aaron Rodgers is playing the Jets, right? He's now with the Steelers. Like, I just think it was too simple to put this on a Saturday night. And it's like, let's put this in January, out of sight, out of mind, multiple months into the season. I think it loses its steam a bit, Rosie.
Yeah, it totally will. Maybe they wanted that. I don't really know. I think it'll probably be anticlimactic. At least I kind of hope it will be. Don't really care for I don't think there's a reason to boo the living hell out of the guy. I hope that doesn't really happen. I hope they don't make some gross tribute to that's real mushy and over the top as well. Like, just, there's a guy that used to play here. All right, little clap, little wave, move on with it. But maybe that's what they're going for, because they sure didn't put it up on a pedestal this year, did they?
Hey, I heard a bigger conversation the other day on a different show, another really good show, wondering what you give a guy like Mitch Marner, because this is not Pontus Holmberg returning to Scotiabank Arena. It's Mitch Marner. Like, what are you giving him, Rosie?
For a video tribute or whatever?
Like a return? Like, are you giving him a stick, or like, what are you doing?
Me personally?
No, just the Leafs. You playing the role of the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Nothing, man. He wouldn't sign here. He took off. Give him a little tribute. Hey, welcome back, Mitch Marner. Remember him? He played here for a long time. Local boy. Clap, clap. He waves and turns around and move on with it. That's all I'm thinking. But if it's over the top, it'll be annoying. And if the fans are over the top booing and heckling, then I think that's rude too. So hopefully it's not like a John Tavares situation, but I think it very well could be.
Fair enough. Let's bring in today's guest. He is the lead play-by-play voice for Sportsnet, Hockey Night in Canada, and CBC. It is Chris Cuthbert. CC, thank you so much for doing this. How are you? How's your summer going?
Good, Nick. Jay, good to be with you. All's well.
It's good to hear your voice in the summertime.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. What's the most hostile or intense crowd you've ever experienced when calling a game, CC?
Oh, intense. I've kind of got a tie for the lead now. I used to think there was never going to be anything like the Bell Center, but the last couple of playoff runs in Edmonton, the atmosphere there is unbelievable, and so I put those two at the top.
Chris, the return of Mitch Marner, which, we're probably talking about Marner too much, but it's something to look forward to when the schedule drops, and it's kind of buried on a Friday in the middle of January, kind of out of sight, out of mind. Do you think that the Leafs fans just think the world revolves around them, or do you think the NHL kind of dropped the ball with that opportunity?
Well, I heard you guys talking about it, and I was thinking, here's three guys on this podcast who all probably started the essays the night before they were due. I mean, the schedule is a huge thing, and Mitch Marner didn't become a Vegas Golden Knight till the end of June. I'm pretty sure that schedule was almost written in etched in stone by the time Marner becomes a Vegas Golden Knight. With that said, of course, we'd want him on a Saturday night, and that's not going to happen. It does raise these conspiracy theories, though, that both times they play the Leafs, it's a second game of back-to-backs, and that's not media friendly. It's probably Mitch Marner friendly. So maybe there's a little bit of both going on.
Hey, I'll just put out there, we had Bruce Cassidy on the show last week, and he was hinting at one sort of idea that he saw in the schedule that suggested Marner's return was coming early in the season. Now it comes in January. So obviously they deviated from that schedule. But what do you anticipate the atmosphere being like for that game?
I'm really torn about this. I mean, watching over the years, great players leaving the Leafs, most of them didn't leave because they wanted to go. I remember being absolutely crushed as a kid when Lanny McDonald got traded. Heck, I'll go back. I remember the day they traded Frank Mahovlich, and I'm a little kid then, and I'm thinking this just isn't right. But I was trying to think. Curtis Joseph and Mitch Marner are probably the highest profile Leafs who went because they wanted to go, and So I don't know how much that's going to factor in. You know, I sometimes it's dangerous to try and assume what the crowd's going to be, because the crowd, that mob mentality takes on its own life. And if it starts out friendly, it could be very friendly. If it starts out John Tavares going to the Islander, it could end up being like that. I don't expect that, but I'm it's going to be really interesting, because I don't have a real gauge on what to expect.
Yeah, and Chris, how about just the team in general? It's been a little bit of a quiet off season as far as acquiring new players and filling that Mitch Marner hole. There's some new guys that are coming in that are kind of exciting, though. Do you think this team, as it sits, do you think they've taken a big step back? Do you think they're just as good? Do you think they have a chance to be better? Where do you think they sit now that they've made some of these changes?
Yeah, without Marner, I can't say that they're as good or better, but it's still a work in progress. And when was the last time we talked about the Leafs with cap room? So that's interesting. The problem with cap room is you can go out and acquire somebody big. It has to be now via trade, and so who you giving up? That's the thing I keep rolling through my head. The guys everybody wants are Easton Cowan and Ben Danford, and I don't see that. I was one of those guys that said under no circumstances can you give up Matthew Nyes in a deal, and man, that's one of the rare times where I actually look pretty smart. So and that's a couple years back now, and nobody's talking about giving up Nyes now. But do you give up Cowan and go for it? I hesitate on that. So, so does this cap room? Does a guy fall in the lap of the Leafs who another team's got to move out because they are in cap jail? I don't know, but the team we're looking at right now is not clearly as good, but it is going to get better, I think. I think everybody's sleeping on Easton Cowan, and I hope I'm just not dreaming in Technicolor. And he had a tremendous camp 2 years ago when it was too early. Last year, we had all these expectations, and he had a terrible camp, but he went back, he went to work, he had an amazing season in junior. Clearly, he's not ready to be a core four guy, but I think under the right circumstances, he might be able to be a piece in this puzzle that and I don't think the Leafs want to talk about it too much, because they don't want to put too much pressure on the kid too soon. But every time I look at a Leaf roster that doesn't have Easton Cowan, I'm wondering why he's getting left out, because I think he's a guy that could make a difference.
It really is a fascinating conversation, because you even see it right now to an extent with Edmonton. Like, they pick up Ike Howard, and right away he's on that top line with McDavid, has yet to play a game in the NHL. Like, they expect Matt Savoy to have a big year. You almost need to infiltrate your roster, at least we think, to have the right balance on your roster with younger players. And I think the way things situate right now, CC, I think they're going to give Easton Cowan every shot in the world to crack this roster, and ultimately it's going to be up to him, right?
It is. I'm kind of curious at what spot in the roster do you go right up with Matthews and Nyes? Do you have him with Tavares and Nylander on a second line? Do you think maybe he's in that Nick Robertson spot on a line that we saw last year on the third line with McMahon and Domi? Although, all the pieces are in play. Domi could be on the first line. Nylander could be on the first line. So, I think it's going to be interesting to see in the preseason where he starts out. And obviously that's not going to necessarily be where he finishes, but what place in the lineup do they think they could give him a taste and see if he can grab it? I mean, we know in Montreal, and I'm not saying he's going to be in a Calder Trophy race with Demidov, but in Montreal, Demidov's going to be on one of those top two lines right away. I mean, we've already seen that he's probably NHL ready. We don't know if Easton Cowan's NHL ready, but where do you put him in the lineup to test him? Because if he's in the bottom six, are you really going to get, what Easton Cowan eventually is going to bring to the table? You're going to get that on the third or fourth line, maybe the third line. But so I'm curious to see how they go about that.
Aside from Cowan, is there a player that is in your mind standing out as someone that you think could take a big leap this year, or that needs to take a big leap? Is there a name that you think needs to take a step forward with this team and start doing some things?
Well, I've got a few names I'm looking at. I mean, in-house for sure. You know, I want to see the Bobby McMahon that we saw for 2/3 of the season last year. Can Bobby McMahon be a 25 goal scorer? He scored 20 and then just went cold at the end. I went down to watch a little bit of the development camp, and on a separate pad, they had Bobby McMahon working with Marshall Rafai, just those two guys. And I was thinking, man, those are two guys that we should probably file away as guys that the Leafs want to raise their stock. I mean, maybe Rafai doesn't fit in right away, but McMahon certainly, they'd like to see him take another step. I think, you know, Nick Waugh is not Mitch Marner, and that's obvious. But Nick Waugh helps you win playoff games. Nick Waugh helped the team win a Stanley Cup. I think Nick Waugh is a perfect third-line center for this team. And so he's a guy I'm interested in, and I am interested in Michelli. And again, Matias Michelli is not Mitch Marner, but he's a guy who scored 20. He has had 50 points early in his career. He almost was a finalist for the Calder. I think he's a really talented guy that everything that could go wrong went wrong for him, but is a guy that can turn it around. And that's another guy you probably have to try and shoehorn him into your top six to really get the most out of him. And so he's competing with Cowan for one of those spots in all likelihood. So, you know, there's guys that I'm watching for sure because I think we know a lot about the rest of the crew. And I guess one more guy would be Morgan Riley, but he's got to be on the power play again unless they make a move, because Mitch Marner is not your power play point man anymore. So can we get the playoff Morgan Riley that we saw last year in the opening round? That's those are a short list, and in Toronto we're watching everybody obviously, but those are guys that I'll be watching.
Also watching outside the division, be honest, are you tired of calling Florida Panthers Stanley Cup victories? Is anybody even in that realm right now? Like, they come back with exactly the same team. They have to be the team to beat again, right?
I better not get tired of it, because we're looking straight down the gun barrel at it again. I mean, that's it's going to be a tough team to beat. And every time you're thinking of what team's ready to take this down. I don't have anybody in that discussion yet. I mean, lots could change, and there's rumors that Matthew Tkachuk may have to go back and get surgery, and how long's he going to be out and everything else. But Marchand and Jones made huge differences, and I'll go back to the Leafs again because you talked about a salary cap room, and the Panthers manufactured some room, but they took advantage of it with Seth Jones. Nobody wanted to take a chance on Seth Jones, but it turned out to be an enormous move for Bill Zito, who had inside information. He had him in Columbus. He knew what made Seth Jones tick. But 6 months ago, if you said Seth Jones might put a team over the top, you would have been laughed at. So who's out there that's like Seth Jones that maybe needs a new lease on life for any team? It'd be interesting to see. So, but right now, Florida, long story longer, Panthers are clearly the team to beat.
An absolute juggernaut, and always seem to be one step ahead. Thank you so much for taking some time here in your summer, and we'll talk soon. We'll talk to you in the fall, okay?
Hey, boys, you can take time off, too. It is the summer, but enjoy being with you. Thanks.
Thanks, Chris.
Tell that to our boss. Take care. See ya. There's Chris Cuthbert, an absolute legend, and has called so many big games, never mind just the Leafs, but could only wonder, like, covering the Cup final the last couple of years. Edmonton, Florida, and it's Florida, and it's Florida, and it's Florida. And he's so right. This could continue for a couple more years. Like, we really haven't got to that conversation. And one podcast I want to do this summer, later on in the summer, is like sort of a a review or a breakdown of the Atlantic Division, because sadly there are other teams in this division who will be competing for that division title.
Yeah, there will be. It'll be interesting to see where everyone's at. Boston, Tampa, obviously Florida leading the charge. It's impressive that the Leafs won that division when Florida was in there, but the way they play, and like, they didn't need that crown, they didn't need that trophy. They knew that they needed to rest their bodies up and hit their stride once the postseason started, and they did exactly what they wanted to do. It's interesting. Talking about the Leafs roster with Cuthbert there, if you can get, like, if Nyze's doing his thing, if you get Waugh going, if Cowan makes the team, Domi's still there, maybe McMahon takes a step up a little bit physically, you've got your back end the way it is, all of a sudden there's a team that, like, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get away from that, we're going to win 7-6 with our core four, and they're starting to build a team that's, a little bit grittier, I would say. And not to put too much on Cowan or anything, but I think that when he's a full-grown man and when he wants to step up and make an impact in the NHL, I don't know if that's this year or not. It's a lot to ask from a young kid. But if he does, the way he plays would complement, Matthew Nyes and Waugh and Domi, and kind of spark that attitude that I think the Leafs are looking for that'll help them in the playoffs. So I think that's kind of exciting. And I agree with him. Bobby McMahon is a guy that I could say, are you going to be a factor this year? Are you going to be a guy that's driving things and driving a line and being impactful every game? It'll be interesting to see, but fun to talk to CC, no doubt.
To your point, I don't think you can have expectation on young players, because sometimes it takes longer than others to develop. Like Matthew Nyes is a pretty good example. Like, there hasn't been as much turbulence as, say, other players in the first couple of years in the league, but there's been ups, there's been downs, and that's why, again, getting back to the Edmonton conversation, like, it's unreal that they're going to bring in this Ike Howard, and he hasn't played a game in the league, and right away they're etching him on the top line. Like, how do you expect to win a Stanley Cup that way? And from the Cowan perspective, I don't know if I'm putting him in my top six. I think I want him, like, you want more identity in general to your bottom six, and maybe that's where he starts and works his way up. But I think clearly, to CC's point, they're going to give Cowan every opportunity to crack this roster. It's going to be up to him. If he's ready, he's ready, and there's going to be a spot. You make a spot available for an Easton Cowan. But I think the pressure, it'll be interesting to see how he deals with that. We talk about training camp, how much of a pain in the ass it is. For guys like Cowan, I think this is massive to prove that they can stick and at least start the season. And so I'm sure we'll have this conversation a lot about Cowan, but I think it's up to him what he wants to do moving forward here.
Yeah, 100%. Just be interesting to see, I'm always just to see how he operates out there. You can tell a lot by watching a guy, especially in person. Watch him in between shifts, and watch him when he's kind of warming up, and watch him when the eyeballs aren't on him. And you can tell if this guy's feeling confident, or you can tell if he's overthinking things, or if he's a little worried about stuff, or if he's hesitant, or if he's just full throttle, or if he's ready, or if he's not. There's a lot you can tell about a guy just watching him, and I think there'll be a lot of eyeballs on him doing exactly that come camp. He's not dumb. He probably knows that. He can probably feel that. Then he's going to get off the ice every single day, and there's going to be 5 or 6 questions in different roundabout ways asking about, are you going to make this team? Can you make this team as a guy of this age? Are you ready to make that jump? It's such a big jump. Like, that right there is what we're talking about, why it's hard to play in Toronto, because that's just what you deal with day, and then you go to sleep and you wake up and you do it all over again. It doesn't stop. It doesn't lessen. And you're talking about a guy in Columbus doing the same thing. It's fucking easy comparatively to what I just described. Like, it's all day, every day scrutiny, eyeballs, and that just relates to pressure, and that turns into, something that can rob your confidence and something that can get you down. And it can also go the other way. You can ride a wave with all that stuff. You can come out hot, come out of the gates, be confident, make an impact, stand out in the camp, get the good reviews from the coaches, light it up in the preseason games, and all of a sudden everyone's talking about you real highly, and then you got to worry about not getting too high in this market. So it'll be interesting to see. I think he's kind of going to be the story of camp. I hope to hell that he's confident and he's ready to buzz, and he know what this team's needs. And he says, I know I'm young, but I've got some experience under my belt from World Juniors to Memorial Cups to winning MVPs. I'm ready to come in here and make my mark. And I hope the Leafs give him every opportunity to do that, and I'm sure they will.
I've got a perfect solution for maybe a top 6 winger for the Toronto Maple Leafs. As we're doing this show, Aaron Portzline, who covers the Columbus Blue Jackets, alluding to the fact that he thinks Igor Chinakhov has asked for a trade from the Columbus Blue Jackets. He makes 2.1, one more year left on his deal. RFA next summer. He's 24. This is like Matthias Michelli all over again. And this guy, I think, in my opinion, maybe further along than Michelli, but he proved in Columbus what kind of wow factor he has, what kind of pizzazz. And Chinakhov, I think, is a perfect example. If I'm the Maple Leafs, a guy I'd go after, man. He's got a lot of skill.
Yeah, it's looking that way. I'm pulling his stuff up. 71 points in 175 games. Not bad. I mean, he split time. Last year's full-time nationally. Was he hurt or was he scratched a lot? Only played 30 games the year before. He was in the minors a touch. So interesting. Big Ruski boy, big Russian. Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't know a lot about this kid. I'm just looking at him right now. So I don't sit down and watch the Columbus Blue Jackets very often, to be honest with you. But funny when names start to come up that check the boxes: age, term, AAV, abilities. Guys like that are going to start popping up here as we draw closer to camp, and it'll be fun mixing it up with some names and seeing if anyone looks like they could be a fit. Again, what do we have to give up to get something like him? That's a tough question. It depends how bad the situation is where he's sitting.
Yeah, and I guess this is a bit different because he's a former first rounder. I believe he went 21st overall a couple years back, but I watched him quite a bit last year. He got banged up, but he was on a tear before he got banged up. I believe he had 7 goals in like 15 games or 30 games, but 15 points. And I think Columbus obviously doesn't have the star power that, say, the Toronto Maple Leafs do, although I would say the last quarter of the season, they really, really took off, played some excellent hockey, but really like stayed around the float in the conversation at the very least in the Eastern Conference. And again, I think Chinakhov is a perfect example of a player you're identifying if you're the Maple Leafs, because I don't think it'll cost like multiple first rounders and assets and this and that to acquire the player. I think ultimately just because he's asked for a trade here doesn't mean Don Waddell and company have to give it to him. But I think this is sort of the outside the box type approach that Brad Treliving needs to have. And we've seen this throughout the offseason already with the Michelli pickup over in Utah. Like, I know every guest we've had in the last 2 weeks have brought up the name Michelli out of their way to come out and bring up his name, because I think he's a guy who could impress a lot of people considering what he did a couple of years ago. And maybe people think a bounce back's in store of sorts here.
Well, yeah, you know what he's capable of, right? And you run into, as CC says, the worst possible things that could have happened did happen. So you think there's a high ceiling there with this Chinakhov. What the hell, Chinakhov? Like, is he a complete pussy? Like, he's never played in the playoffs. He's got 4 PIMs, 2 PIMs, 6 PIMs, 0 PIMs, 10 PIMs, 0 PIMs in the last 4 years. Like, is this kid going to absolutely go away when he gets into the playoff games against the Florida Panthers? Like, that's my only question. Like, that's what we're looking for. That's the Everest, is someone going to get better in a playoff series that gets deep? Or is a kid like this going to absolutely fold and say, I did enough for my contract, now I do no more? Like, no thanks to that kind of shit. But I'm not saying that's what he is, but I don't see any reason to say, ooh, there's a guy that's going to get us over the hump in the playoffs.
Plays a heavier brand. I think, to be fair, there's only select amount of players in the league that are playing the way that you want them to play. It's just a fact. I mean, there are not many players left in this league, unfortunately, that are going to, put you through a wall, right? And I think what I've realized watching Chinakhov quite a bit the last couple of years, he does use his frame particularly well. I think build around 6'1", maybe 210. He's a bigger body on the wing, can play multiple position, pretty decent finisher, has a lot of skill, and now it's all about reining it in. Like, I think he's a guy I would take a shot on with the Columbus Blue Jackets. At the Leafs Nation 401, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. So looking at the schedule breakdown here, the home opener / season opener, Wednesday, October 8th, as we speculated upon, against the Montreal Canadiens. The big dates we're looking at, obviously, Marner's on January 23rd. Pontus Holmberg will return with Tampa on December 8th. And Ryan Reeves, who, by the way, we're going to interview later on today, we'll play that on Monday's podcast. He'll make his return to Scotiabank Arena with San Jose on December 11th. Then you got Lawton's return to Philadelphia November 1st. Carlo's return to Boston November 11th. And Michelli back to Utah January 13th. Raza return to Vegas January 15th. But from the player's perspective, is this a sneaky big day? Do you start to plan some things like the rookie party, sometimes where you can get your family out, your friends out? Does that go through a player's mind in the offseason at all?
What day are you talking about? Just in general?
Like schedule release day.
Yeah, not really. You're playing every team. You're going to have some heavy months and some lighter ones. You're going to be on the road. You're going to be at home. You're going to have some back-to-backs. I guess everyone's different. Maybe I think it's rare guys would dive in there and dissect everything. Once you know what your team is, once you know who's on the roster, once you get settled down and start to look at, okay, what do we got here this month and next month, and what does it look like until Christmas? And then you're, okay, what's the new year look like, and when's the trade deadline, that kind of thing. And then you look at the road trips and say, oh, here's an opportunity where we could do a rookie party or something like that. Yeah, for sure. But I more look at, okay, what are we looking at? You open up against Montreal. You got Red Wings, Predators, Rangers, Kraken, Sabres back-to-back.
A lot of home games.
Columbus. Like, I would like them to get off to a good start, or at least have an opportunity to figure some stuff out. Because I think getting the chemistry going with these players and figuring out who's playing with who is going to be paramount early in the season. There might be some growing pains where you are putting some formulas together that just aren't really working, and you're scratching your head going, I thought that line would have looked pretty good together, and they're just going against the grain with each other. Okay, let's try something else. And figuring that out, you might drop a game or two, and in that market there's going to be I told you the Leafs got worse every time they lose a game. So I'm looking at the beginning of the schedule, and it doesn't look crazy heavy the first 10-12 games. So might give them an opportunity to get their feet under them and get some gelling going with some of those new guys. Michelli is kind of what I'm thinking more than anything.
Yeah, that's the one thing that really stood out for me is the home cooking in the month of October. 8 of the 11 games on home ice. In fact, 8 of the first 10 games at Scotiabank Arena. And I like that. I mean, get your home record established. I do think to a degree last year the Maple Leafs made that building more of a house of pain. But that's a good potential to have a good solid start to your campaign following a pretty noisy summer, we'll say, with everything we talked about ad nauseum for the last couple weeks. So it allows them the possibility to get off to a good start. Maybe you want to start on the road, but I like the fact that the Leafs will start and play a lot of hockey at Scotiabank Arena in the month of October. It's time now for the last call, brought to you by Bet365. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app and get in the game. Use code NATION. That's NATION, N-A-T-I-O-N. Must be 19 or older, Ontario only. Please play responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, visit ConnexOntario.ca. So golf is on your mind today, right?
Yeah, Matty Fitzpatrick, he's leading her. Always watch out for Scheffler. I want my little sleeper play to be Robert McIntyre, though. He's a Scottish kid that won the Scottish Open. But anyway, he blasted onto the scene a year or two ago, made some runs at the Open Championship, and I think he got him at a healthy little number there. I don't think he's quite teed off yet. It'll be close anyways, but nice kid, good story. His dad's on his bag. His dad was like a greenskeeper forever. He started bawling his eyes out when he won that big Open tournament, and this nice Scottish kid's got a lot of games. So he's kind of like my favorite little dark horse right now.
Love it. We'll leave it at that. That's going to do it for another week here of Leafs Morning Take. Back next week for new episodes Monday, Wednesday, Friday. As mentioned, we're catching up with Ryan Reeves later on today. That should be a lot of fun. We'll play that interview coming up on Monday, Rosie. What do you have planned for the weekend?
Yeah, I had lots of plans. Now I have no plans. So I'll probably be just watching golf, seeing if I can roll a couple putts on my own out at the track. My kids are going to Vancouver, so I'm kind of going to be lonesome. I don't know. I should have some plans, but I don't, just because I'm laid up on the IR right now. I'm LTIRing it, waiting for playoffs, I guess.
I'm headed down to Montreal for a little weekend rip.
Are you?
Yeah. I
know
got to
there's something
credit
in the water
Pizzetta.
there.
I texted Pizzetta too. He gave me an entire like list of restaurants, everything, man. Like that is an Italian being an Italian right there. So I appreciate that. Shout out to Pez.
That is nice. Yeah, Montreal, man. Not my favorite team in the world. Say what you want, whatever, but
good
that city's
nightlife.
pretty neat. And
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, if there's a ratio that's gone wrong or something, but there's a lot of young women there that are rather attractive who seem to be single, ready to mingle. And I remember walking into some bars going, I am going to get in trouble in this place. There's too many temptations in this town. So you go be a good boy and you go to bed just like you will. Right, Nikki?
Yeah, exactly. I didn't know where you're going with that, but yeah, as somebody who has done a lot of
Neither did
research in those parts, I was born there. I can confirm, and I'll have more of a confirmation coming up on Monday. We'll leave it at that, okay?
Okay, let me know how it goes. Don't do something stupid.
Okay,
Get arrested or something dumb. Just keep your head on straight, Nicky boy. Don't do something my
Sounds
way.
good. Cool.
See you
thank you
next
to Chris Cuthbert. Sounds good. Chris Cuthbert, thank you to him for dropping by. Everybody in the chat at the Leafs Nation 401. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Leafs Morning Take wherever you find your podcasts. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review. And don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com. Coming up on Monday, once again, Ryan Reeves. You won't want to miss that. Thank you to producer Vic. For Jay Rosehill, I'm Nick Alberga. Have a great weekend, everybody. Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long-form interviews. We got clips. We got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.